you wrecked me, Porter. I'm not happy with that, Porter. Oh, what? Did you see that? He wrecked me, put me in 3rd place and got me eliminated. Not 4th place even. Wow. Hello Internet, welcome to Games Done Wrongish. Today we will be taking a look at the first 2 Xbox games with gold titles for February 2018. The titles are Shadow Warrior and Split Second. As a new addition to the content on this channel, I also recorded the whole sessions of me playing these games for this overview. After watching this overview, if you want to see more of either of these games, then please feel free to check out those videos. The links are in the description below and will also be linked at the end of this video. For now though, let's get to it. Shadow Warrior is a first-person shooter / samurai hack and slash game from 3D Realms. The game is a reboot of the same franchise that originally released back in 1997. 3D Realms were once called Apogee, and are responsible for a number of first-person games. Under the 3D Realms label, however, their standout titles are Duke Nukem and Shadow Warrior. Both of these games looked and played very similar back then. The best thing I found about Shadow Warrior was the fact that you could create levels or maps for the game and play them as single player or multiplayer affairs, which gave the game a lot of longevity. That is not present in this game, however. When Bethesda took ID Software under their wings and decided to reboot Wolfenstein and Doom, they had much bigger and grander ideas for their franchises. You get the idea that 3D Realms would also love to do something like that with their beloved Shadow Warrior series, they just don't. If you are old enough to remember the original Shadow Warrior game, then this is a massive flashback with some great fan service, but that is about it. It does not take anything to the next level. It does not try to reinvent itself or be anything more than what the original game was. Sure, in this game there is a fully voiced story with cutscenes and vague plot lines. There is also ways to upgrade your character and their abilities, such as spending money to upgrade your weapons, and chi to upgrade your abilities. You also gain karma, which allows you to purchase new abilities with karma points. All of this feels a bit pointless though, and tacked on to try and give the game something more than a first person shooter type feel. It also feels like it was ripped off straight from Far Cry 3, whereas you gain tattoos to show your upgrades. Despite actually having to use the healing magic once or twice, in my short playthrough I did not feel the need for supernatural abilities. I was only playing the normal campaign on the normal difficulty, however. There is an option to unlock an EX mode, which allows you to play through the campaign again with all unlocks and upgrades present from your original playthrough, and a heroic mode, which is a single life mode with no manual saves allowed, meaning you only get one chance per mission. If you complete the mission, you can then continue on to the next one each time you die, until you complete that one and so on. The powers and upgrades may come in handy for this mode, and the last mode, which is Survival Mode. Survival Mode is a basic arena mode in which you need to last as long as you can against wave after wave of enemies. The standard campaign mode also has a number of difficulty settings to choose from. They are casual, hard and insane. I played on the normal settings, so you may get more use out of the powers when raising this too. Also, I only played for around an hour and a half to make this overview. I completed 2 levels and felt it was enough for what I need. So later on there may be levels or areas that require you to use everything at your disposal. I cannot say for sure if this is the case or not. For me, it felt as though the game simply had you fighting off waves of demons that got stronger as the levels progress until you got a score of so many shurikens out of 5. Once the scorecard came up, you knew you were relatively safe for a short spell to search the area for collectibles. The gameplay other than this is a basic coloured keycard affair, just like the first person shooters of old. The first few minutes actually has you finding a green keycard to use on a green door. The earlier testers probably thought the same as me and stated, really? The old keycard system? So they mixed it up a little and changed it to colour coordinated statues that you need to break to open that coloured door instead. The gameplay mechanics remain the same though. The combat revolves mostly around shooting with your guns and slashing with your sword. The game can be very bloody and gory at times, with limbs being severed constantly. As expected, it's best to clear as many enemies as you can with bullets at range before fighting off the rest with the sword when they're getting close. There are demon heart grenades too, but overall it's your very basic old school first person shooter game with a sword thrown into the mix. The game has 53 achievements to collect for a total of 1000 gamer score. Overall, the game serves as an OK fan service title. It's not going to surprise you or offer anything new. Although saying that, if you are too young to have played the original game, this may be something new and refreshing to you. If you played and enjoyed the original Shadow Warrior, then you are likely going to get a kick out of this for a short spell. The game is pretty silly, as was the original. It's kind of like an 80s action movie, which is also kind of like a mashup of Kill Bill and Army of Darkness. If you have absolutely nothing else to play and you are looking for a mindless, silly first-person shooter, then give it a go. If, however, your shooter has to be straight up boots on the ground military style, then stay well clear. This is not for you. Split Second is an arcade-style racing game. When looking into this whilst downloading it, I was expecting a game very much like the old Burnout series. It has a sense of that game, but is very different and in a good way. Instead of using turbo boosts and shoulder charges to destroy your opponents, you build up power attacks that allow you to set off explosions and traps ahead of you to try and wreck your opponents. The game is based around a crazy MTV style TV show. Your goal is to win races and wreck your opponents in spectacular style to progress from episode to episode. You can kind of think of it as a Demolition Derby meets Pop Idol game, as crazy as that sounds. If you have a bad performance, you may not make it to the next episode, and so on. The gameplay, on the other hand, is high octane, just like the Burnout game. You get the feeling of speed, you feel the impact of the traps and explosions being used against you, and you experience the thrill of taking out your opponents with a well-timed explosion or collision that may cause a double or triple car wreckage. Throughout the season, you unlock new cars and race types that you can then use and play in quick play. The game modes consist of race, detonator, elimination, survival, helicopter attack and revenge. Once you have unlocked each of these modes, you can then play them at your leisure in quick play. As you play through these modes, you gather a resource for doing stunt like driving, be it drifting, drafting, or close calls or more. You can use these once you fill a blue bar to trigger a trap or event that may or may not wreck a car in front of you. For instance, you may trigger a truck to back out onto the track or a helicopter to drop an explosive barrel and so on. However, if the opponent or yourself for that matter are able to swerve around it, it could be wasted. You also have the additional hazard of wrecking yourself. I found this out the hard way. If you spring a trap as you are neck and neck on the track with your intended target and are not aware of what kind of trap you are triggering, you may end up wrecking yourself and not your opponent. The more you play the game, the more familiar you will become with each track and hazard, so you will be able to time your power-ups accordingly. A good mode to learn a track on is the Detonator Race mode. In this mode, the track is basically wired to use every single trap on you as you race through. This is time attack mode with a twist. The twist is that the track is trying to destroy you. However, once you run it a few times, you will learn the hazards and how to avoid them. You can then use this knowledge in race mode to your advantage. If you know it is possible to swipe the entire track with a huge ship after the next corner, it may be worth holding your power up until then if that is when you can achieve the most damage. The game has 46 achievements to collect for a maximum of 1000 gamer score. The estimated time to collect them all is 15 to 20 hours. Overall, I had an absolute blast with this game during my short playthrough. I recorded the playthrough in its entirety and will link it at the end of this video and in the description below. During the playthrough, as stated in the video, I had a huge smile on my face the entire time. The game is over 7 years old now, so the graphics and gameplay are a little dated, but that does not mean it's not a lot of fun. It is, perhaps in short spells. It did start to feel a little repetitive after an hour or so. The story seemed to fade into the background and not matter at all. However, the joy of taking out your opponents with well-timed traps was fulfilling and pleasing. The game does have a Mario Kart feeling to it at times. For instance, when playing the elimination mode, I found myself out in first position and suddenly having a trap sprung on me, which put me back in last position just as the timer was about to expire, which meant I was eliminated. Elimination mode requires you to basically not be in last place when the timer expires. Just like with the first game in this video, if you'd like your first person shooter or racing game to be realistic, then these games are probably not for you. Neither of them set out to be that or even pretend to be. The games are also not going to convince your friends to buy an Xbox One if they don't already own one. What they will do though is give you something fun and enjoyable to play. Something that allows you to forget about the struggles of day-to-day life, sit back and just smile with a gamepad in your hand. And after all, as gamers, isn't that what we want the most? If you like this video, please consider watching another. 2 suggestions will be on screen now. Also, if you have not subscribed already, please do so by clicking the icon in the middle of this screen. Every view and subscription will go a long way to helping the channel grow, and in turn will result in more content for you. Thank you, and until the next time, goodbye.